Hey guys, this is Eric Weingartner with Weingartner Racing. This video is about these cheater Vortec heads, and you might be saying, man, these things look like crap. You call that a port job? I know some of you already looked at it and that's what you thought. There's a reason for this. So if you're new to my channel, you may not know this, so bear with me. There's a guy named Dominic who's a customer of mine. He has a YouTube channel called DZ Performance. We had gotten together and we did a dyno testing session for 3 straight days on the dyno testing big block stuff. And he's got a bunch of motors. And one of them that he has is a 3-3 small block Chevy. Well, he's also got a bunch of cast iron heads from different cast numbers. So a whole bunch of double humps, a whole bunch of open chamber ones. And in October, so about a month from now, we're going to start doing some dyno tests on that, on his 383 with a hydraulic roller. And we're going to test all those factory cast heads. And they haven't been modified pretty much at all besides just, basic refresh like valve job and surfacing, those sort of things. But I said, hey man, I've got this cast iron head and I think this would be a good one to put it against what you got. I think this is going to be the winner. And what this is you look at the end, see that bump there? That looks like the Vortec 062 small block Chevy head, but this is not a Vortec head, obviously. It looks like that way from the chamber too, but that vein gives away it is not. Even though I ground some of that to make it look that way, but that's not how it comes. So the other clue is this, which you can see through here. See these bolts? That's for the intake manifold. And a Vortec one does not come that way. This head, it was made by EQ, and it's got Vortec ports, but it's got the pattern for a regular small block Chevy manifold. So you could bolt the small block Chevy manifold on it. It also has the perimeter valve cover rail. So this way you don't have to run the center bolt stuff. So the benefits for this is it was a Vortec head design, slightly. They did modify it and added a vein here, and the port itself is a little bit better anyway, which I'll show you with the flow numbers. But it could use the standard manifold, standard valve covers. They don't make them anymore. So this is a one-off deal. So anyway, this customer, I had sold them to run on circle track stuff, and then as you can guess, this was many years ago, it got banned. So they were like, no way, Jose, you can't run that anymore. So here we have it. It's been sitting for about a year, and I said, man, I'm going to do some touch-up on these. I'm going to make them better, and we'll see what we can't do on the dyno and see if we can't best on them. Because besides doing the cast iron heads, which I think he's doing an 882, I think 461 double humps, and I think a set of 993s and a couple others, these are going to be tested. But he's also got a set of Vortec's IK 180 heads, so it's aluminum head, just to see how they compare with the aftermarket stuff. And I said, I got something for this, and this is it. So let me show you what it did stock. And I don't want to try to avoid these numbers here. The stock flow numbers are right there. And if you look at it, this with the 194 intake valve and a 150 exhaust valve, it flows 253, really good, and 221 at 4. You can see why I got banned. That's like 30 CFM better on the peak flow than a Vortec head does. Exhaust, about the same. It didn't really pick up anything there. Now, what I have done, and the reason why it looks like crap, well, I shouldn't say it looks like crap, but it's not as good as I usually do on some of my stuff, as far as port work goes, is this. I'm not so certain what's going to happen to these heads when it's over. And also, since it's my own, I should say it's my own stuff, but it's sort of my own stuff for testing, I really don't care what it looks like. I just want to perform well. So if it looks rough, it is what it is, you know what I mean? Customer stuff, there's no way I let that out the door, because their buddy will come over and he's going to want to show off his heads, like, man, you got to see this work from Weingartner, right? And his buddy's going to come over, and if it had a head like this, he'd be like, your dude sucks, even though he has no idea what he's looking at, has no idea how to build an engine, but his buddy just looks at it and says, that looks like crap. That guy didn't know what he's doing. And it just plants the seed, and then the guy thinks it's a horrible job. In this case, I know it's good, so I don't even care what it looks like. And the other part of this is I'm not so certain that these heads eventually won't go back on a circle track engine somewhere. And it's easier to hide a rough port than it is a nice port. So I haven't entirely cleaned it up because I could still hide them and make them look like it's almost stock. Yes, I can cheat them up so that these will pass most tech people. But it's easier when it looks kind of like this. So anyway, what's been done? The biggest thing is the intake valve got opened up. So it was a 194 to start off with and a 150 exhaust valve. It is now a 2.055 intake valve, and I kept the exhaust valve the same. Partially because this exhaust seat really has a hard time when you get out to 1.6. You're almost at the end of that seat, and I just didn't want to do it. So it's a 150 exhaust valve still, but 2.055 intake valve. Give it more area because this thing is only going to have a 560 lift anyway, so it's not going to have a huge amount of lift. Now, looking at it too, and another flashlight might blind you. I'm not sure how it looks on your end. I made the bowl bigger, and I'll be happy to tell you, because this is an aftermarket head, I don't have to worry about water in between here. With the stock head, there's water right here. Not so much on the Vortec ones, but if you're doing a double hump and some of the others, they do. You can get water, though, if you get too far up on a Vortec head, because there's still water passage there. This, I made the bowl 95% of 2.055. I'm giving away the measurements. The throat is 90%. This valve job's a 45-degree one, and it's my medium. I've got one that's way more aggressive than this, and I've got one that's a little bit lazier. Two more that actually are lazier than this. But this is, it's just medium. It's an average one. And that's pretty much it. I did reshape the short side, which you can kind of see. I won't talk too much about the shape because I got to keep some secrets. Did I lay it back? No, not really. I actually didn't because I knew he's only running a 560 lift, so I'm not so much worried about it backing up and flow. I didn't really care about that. You can kind of see what the shape looks like there. I did make it a bit wider because I made the bowl wider, so then when you make the bowl wider, you make it wider through the short side too. Now, the exhaust side, I just did my normal thing. And here's my hidden trick for you guys, or tip, or it shouldn't really be a tip, but here's my hidden secret. I don't really measure the exhaust ports when I'm grinding. I'm like, oh my God, you don't know what you're doing. The only part of I measure is the throat, which is here. The rest of it, nope, just go with what you got. I know enough, I've seen enough, and they end up about the same every time, which is weird. So, but anyway, let me show you this side, because this part's gonna get you. Here's your openings. You're like, you didn't port that? How could you not port match that? That's the most important thing. I don't think so. And the other thing is, like I said, this is gonna go off to some circle track use, probably. This looks stock. So if I just blend the bottom part back where you see it shiny and make it look like I didn't get ported, most tech guys, this will pass right by because they're like, what porter doesn't port match? So anyway, that's what it looks like from this end. Okay, now hold on a second. Let me move some things around. Sorry. There we go. There's your EQ label. Now there's a couple things I still have to do on this. I am going to open up the spring pocket. It's going to put a 144 spring on it. Those holes here I'm going to have to enlarge for the push rod. And I think we're going to go 7/16 rocker studs and also have to use guide plate. Let me show you the exhaust ports. Ugh. I'm sorry. One hand man putting it down. Okay. Here's the exhaust ports. Checking that valve. They look a little bit bigger, but honestly, I didn't open them up that much. And again, they look kind of rough. If I was doing this, I'm gonna have to cover this up for sure. If someone was using this for circle track, this probably won't pass. But in all fairness, I don't think I've ever seen a tech guy pull off a header. One, because they're hot, to check to see if things are ported. So I haven't seen it. I'm not saying that they don't, but I've never seen one do it. They'll pull off an intake manifold, but not the header. So, but anyway, regardless, once you get some carbon built up on that and you make it rough, it's kind of hard to see. So anyway, there's that. Let's look at what it is doing now. So that's before and that's after. So we look, it's about the same at 100. It actually lost 5 CFM at 200 valve lift, and that's probably because it's close to that spark plug notch, which somebody's like, why didn't you blend it? Because I wanted it to look like it was stock. 300 thousandths, it lost 4 or 5 CFM, which is like, now look, now we get going. At 400, it's 226, so it gained about 5. At 500, it's now 256, that's a gain of 16. 600, it's 268, it's a gain of 20. And at 7, it's 271, so it's a gain of 20, and you get the idea. But you're like, well, we only got a 560 lift, that doesn't matter. This tells you how stable the port is. It's moving some air. So especially my numbers I care most about are 4, 6, and peak, which is 271. And that's pretty good. Now look at the exhaust side. It was just a win everywhere. Even though it's the same exhaust valve size. Gain, almost 17 CFM at 300. Look at this, 181 at 400 with a small valve. Whoa, yeah. 194, and it peaks about 208. And this is all without an exhaust pipe. This is all floating on a 430 bore. Things gonna be pretty good. So anyway, thought I'd show you that. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you're a channel member, which I highly encourage you to do, I'm doing a dyno session tomorrow, so you'll get the previews for that. If you're not a channel member, go to my website, wengines.com. You'll see a link to my online store where you can sign up to be a channel member. Yes, it costs a bunch, but it goes for a whole year. You'll get updates. So they've already seen this. My channel members have. They saw this when I finished it. Same with the flow sheets. They also got to see the dyno tests that are going to happen tomorrow. They'll be the first ones to see it. The rest of you guys will get it whenever I get to editing and stuff. But yeah, they'll also be probably the first ones to see this when it actually gets dynoed. Highly encourage you to be a channel member. I know it sounds like I'm trying to sell stuff, but hey, if you want to know the information sooner, there you go. And more stuff that never makes it on the channel. Guys, thanks for watching. Remember, I'm no Superman. You guys take care.